I understand English, but I can't speak well. Mia harbored a secret frustration, a quiet struggle deeply embedded within her. She understood English perfectly, grasping complex ideas and intricate dialogue with ease. Yet, when the moment came to articulate her thoughts, a strange, suffocating silence often enveloped her, leaving words trapped inside her mind. Her mind processed English like a supercomputer, swiftly decoding every nuance of conversation, every written word. But her tongue felt like a foreign object, unresponsive to the commands from her highly capable brain. This disconnect was a constant source of quiet despair. Many times, she would rehearse perfect sentences in her head, preparing for an anticipated exchange. However, the instant she opened her mouth, the well-formed phrases would crumble, replaced by hesitant stutters or an awkward, embarrassed silence that spoke volumes. The world seemed to flow effortlessly for others, conversing in English with natural rhythm and confidence. Mia observed them, longing for that fluidity, that seamless connection between thought and spoken word, feeling like an outsider observing a beautiful dance. She understood the profound importance of English in today's interconnected world, a gateway to opportunities and richer experiences. Her inability to speak well felt like a heavy chain, preventing her from truly participating and fully expressing her true self. One quiet evening, reflecting on her persistent struggle, Mia stumbled upon an article online. It boldly declared, "Why you must read English," emphasizing reading as the foundational step toward unlocking verbal fluency and expanding one's linguistic horizons. Initially, reading felt like just another passive activity, something she already excelled at. But the article insisted on active reading, suggesting she pay close attention to sentence structure, common phrases, and how ideas were beautifully connected. She decided to commit, starting with simple news articles and blog posts on topics she found genuinely interesting. This approach made the process less like a chore and more like an enjoyable exploration, subtly building her vocabulary and understanding of natural expression. Then another discovery: learn English through stories. This concept resonated deeply with her. Mia began devouring short stories, then novels, allowing herself to become immersed in the narratives, absorbing language contextually and effortlessly. Stories provided a rich tapestry of vocabulary and grammar, presented not as dry rules but as living, breathing elements of communication. They also introduced her to colloquialisms and idiomatic expressions in a very natural and memorable way, making learning fun. The emotional connection she formed with characters and plots made the language stick much better than rote memorization. Each new story she finished felt like a small victory, slowly chipping away at her speaking apprehension without even realizing it fully. Next, the article posed a crucial question: why you must listen? Mia had always listened to English, but typically as background noise or for pure comprehension. The new advice suggested active, focused listening as a transformative practice for speaking. She started tuning into English podcasts specifically designed for learners, then moved on to documentaries and engaging TED Talks. Her goal was not just to understand the content, but to internalize the rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation of native speakers. Mia began mimicking sounds she heard, not aloud at first, but internally, training her ears and her mind to recognize the subtle nuances of spoken English. This active listening started to bridge the gap between comprehension and actual articulation. The most revolutionary advice she encountered was an unexpected one: how to talk at home to yourself. The idea seemed bizarre at first, almost silly, but the logic behind it was compelling, promising a safe space for uninhibited practice. Hesitantly, she began talking to herself in front of her bathroom mirror. She described her daily routine, narrated her thoughts, and even practiced hypothetical conversations she might have with others, feeling awkward but determined in the beginning. These private monologues became her personal training ground. There was no judgment, no pressure to perform, allowing her to experiment with new words and sentence structures without the fear of making embarrassing mistakes or stumbling publicly. She discovered that this self-talk immensely boosted her confidence. The more she spoke aloud, even to an empty room, the more comfortable her tongue became. The more natural the words felt when they finally left her mouth, becoming her own voice. Another crucial tip she adopted was how to improve your fluency. It wasn't about speaking perfectly, but about speaking continuously, maintaining a flow, even if it meant making minor errors or pausing briefly to gather thoughts before continuing. Mia started focusing on connecting her words smoothly, reducing long pauses and filler words. She recorded herself occasionally, listening back to identify areas where her speech broke down, and then consciously working to improve those transitions. The practical advice, "talk in English just 1 page per day," became her daily mantra and achievable goal. This wasn't about writing, it was about speaking for the duration it would take to read 1 page, approximately 2 to 3 minutes of continuous speech. Every day without fail, she would pick a random page from an English book or an article and just talk about its content, her thoughts on it, or related ideas for a few minutes. This structured her practice and made it non-intimidating. This consistent, short burst of daily speaking practice was incredibly effective. It built a routine, preventing her from feeling overwhelmed by the enormity of her goal, making it a manageable, bite-sized commitment she could always sustain easily. Mia also started observing how people speak English. She paid close attention to natural conversations, not just in terms of vocabulary, but also body language, facial expressions, and the subtle cues that conveyed meaning beyond mere words. She noticed how native speakers used intonation to convey questions, excitement, or sarcasm. This deeper understanding of communicative nuances helped her make her own speech more expressive and less robotic, adding a layer of authenticity. Mimicking these subtle elements, like varying her pitch and pace, allowed her to sound more natural and engaged in conversations. It transformed her from simply understanding words to truly understanding and participating in the art of communication. Mia dedicated specific time each day to her English routine. Mornings were for reading an engaging story, absorbing new vocabulary. Afternoons involved active listening to a podcast while she cooked or commuted to work. Evenings were reserved for her personal speaking practice. She would pick a topic, sometimes random, sometimes related to her day, and just speak aloud about it for those dedicated few minutes, ensuring consistency. The journey wasn't without its challenges. There were days of frustration, where words still felt clunky, and progress seemed agonizingly slow. But she reminded herself of her commitment and the small, incremental improvements she had already made. Her early attempts at speaking aloud were filled with awkward pauses and repeated words, a testament to her lack of spontaneous output. But she persevered, understanding that this initial discomfort was part of the essential learning curve. The consistent practice of talking to herself provided a safe haven for trial and error. She would try out new phrases, stumble, correct herself, and then try again, building muscle memory for her mouth and mind in isolation. She began noticing that when she read, certain sentence structures and vocabulary naturally started appearing in her internal monologue. This was the reading aspect directly influencing her developing speaking patterns. Listening to diverse accents and speaking styles on podcasts broadened her auditory comprehension. She could now follow conversations more easily in real life, even with people who had very distinct ways of speaking. The 1 page per day speaking challenge helped her develop stamina. It trained her to sustain a continuous flow of speech, rather than just uttering isolated sentences, making her conversations feel more natural and less fragmented as she progressed. She realized that true fluency wasn't about flawless grammar, but about the ability to communicate ideas effectively and confidently, even with occasional imperfections. This epiphany reduced her fear of making small errors. Mia started participating more actively in online English forums, typing out her thoughts. While not speaking, it helped her organize her ideas in English, a crucial step before articulating them orally. Her confidence grew with each successful interaction, no matter how small. A brief chat with a colleague, asking for directions, or even ordering food became mini victories that fueled her determination to continue her practice. The transformation was gradual yet profound. The shy girl who understood but couldn't speak was slowly fading, replaced by a more assertive and vocal individual, ready to engage with the world in English. Her initial fear of judgment began to dissipate as she realized most people were patient and appreciative of her efforts. This acceptance from others further emboldened her to practice more openly and frequently. Mia discovered the joy of spontaneous conversation, something she had only dreamt of before. She could now express her opinions, share stories, and connect with people on a deeper level, all in English. She started joining online discussion groups related to her hobbies, actively participating in voice chats. This was a significant leap from her solitary practice, allowing her to apply her skills in a dynamic environment. The challenges of real-time conversation forced her to think faster and adapt more quickly, pushing her fluency beyond just pre-rehearsed phrases. It was exciting and demanding at the same time, but incredibly rewarding. Her passion for learning blossomed, moving beyond the necessity of communication to a genuine enjoyment of the language itself. English became not just a tool, but a vibrant part of her personal identity, expanding her world. Mia found herself recommending her methods to others struggling with similar issues. She emphasized that consistency, not intensity, was the true secret to mastering the art of speaking any language effectively and confidently. She underlined the critical role, why reading is important. Reading provided the mental framework, the vocabulary, and the grammatical structures necessary to construct coherent and sophisticated spoken sentences effortlessly. Reading also exposed her to diverse registers and styles, from formal academic language to casual everyday slang, preparing her for any conversational context she might encounter in her daily interactions. The more she read, the richer her internal bank of phrases became, making it easier to pull out appropriate expressions on the fly during conversations, reducing hesitation and increasing spontaneity of response. Her mind was now teeming with idiomatic expressions and common phrasal verbs, thanks to her extensive reading. This made her speech sound much more natural and less like a direct translation from her native language. Mia often reflected on her journey, remembering the initial frustration that seemed insurmountable. Now she spoke with a fluidity that once seemed impossible, a testament to her unwavering dedication and smart strategy. The key, she realized, was a holistic approach, feeding her mind with input through reading and listening, and then actively pushing output through consistent self-talk and daily speaking challenges. It was a complete cycle. She became a living example that understanding English is merely the first step. The real transformation begins when you find your voice, when you commit to practicing aloud, even if it feels awkward initially. Her story became an inspiration, showing that anyone who understands English can absolutely learn to speak it well. It just requires the right techniques, unwavering discipline, and a little bit of courageous self-talk daily. Mia's journey proved that fluency isn't an innate talent, but a developed skill, cultivated through deliberate practice and a genuine desire to connect. Her voice, once silent, now resonated with confidence and clarity.